You want a job? Get vaccinated.
And I advocate civil war.
What initially began as a tiny fraction of truckers opposing their vaccine mandate has now become a far-right, anti-vax extremist movement. Now, this, of course, is all about the Freedom Convoy. The Freedom Convoy, which is supposed to be a convoy of truckers, is actually mostly a convoy of cars, as I'll get to, pretending to stand up for the rights of truckers on their way to Canada's capital, and they're fooling some well-meaning individuals in the process. Now, I'm going to break down in this video the crap that has been spewed by this movement, the claims they have made, some of the claims they have made, and also get into some clips and showing you what is actually going on here and some of the organizers behind this and their motivations. But first here, this claim. Let's just start with the basics. Organizers claimed you would have around 50,000 truckers in Canada. 50,000 truckers on their way to Ottawa opposing these vaccine mandates against truckers, even though, as I'll get to, 90% of truckers, an estimated 90%, are already vaccinated. They're working, driving on the roads, have nothing to do with this, and they're also pissed off that they have now been lumped into this gigantic group of lunatics. So 50,000, right? 50,000 people. Also, on Fox News, you had Theo Fleury, former NHLer, also claimed 50,000 people. Here's that clip.
Right now, there's 50,000 truckers and about 1.4 million people headed to the Parliament in Ottawa, and they're going to stay there until Trudeau resigns or they give us back all of our freedoms and rights.
All right, so before I get to debunking the number here, which is just incredibly inflated, you have no idea how inflated this number is. Just let me address the last part of what he said there. What freedoms have been taken from you? Most places are open. Most provinces right now are opening up. Even though there is a serious issue with Omicron, they're still opening up. What freedoms have been taken away from you? It's completely absurd. This entire idea that things have been shut down, our freedoms have been stripped away. What are you talking about? You're on your way driving across the country to show up at the Capitol. Nobody's stopping you. You have that freedom. Stopping along at, restaurants along the way, you're able to go do that. What freedom, what is restricting you right now? So, and we'll get to the vaccine mandate and the truckers, but in terms of just general freedoms, you're perfectly free to do whatever the hell you want. Nothing has changed on that front. Now, let's get to the number here. So, 50,000 truckers, right? 50,000 truckers, 1.4 million people. Wow. 1.4 million people, 50,000 truckers. Let's see how close that number is. So David Atkin here, reporter, says following from several police sources, and I'll get to one of those sources in a second here, 8 separate convoy captains, core organizers, 230 tractors / tractor trailers, and 725 personal vehicles from Toronto and Western Canada. 200 vehicles out of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, possibly 2,000 pedestrians from Quebec, unknown number of other actors. 230 tractor trailers. I was promised 50,000. We are nowhere near. We are nowhere near 50,000. This is such a tiny, tiny fringe of people, including a tiny, tiny, tiny fringe of truckers that has been blown up into this massive movement. Oh my God, gotta support the truckers, even though 90% of them are vaccinated. As I'll show you, there are some that are pretty pissed off about this movement. But no, 50,000 truckers, 1.4 million people. Not even close. Now, Kingston Police here, so this is one of the sources. Their counts, they saw 17 full tractor trailers, 104 tractors with no trailers, 424 passenger vehicles, 6 RVs. Again, nowhere near the numbers that were claimed by the organizers. And taking a look, you can do your own research here. You can look up videos, look up images. The vast majority, this is from, just to be clear, also Kingston Police, posting this image here. They're pickup trucks. There's like, does that count as a transport truck, or is that just like a U-Haul down there? Like the vast majority here, they're just pickup trucks. They're just people, regular people, not truckers, have joined this. It's so completely ridiculous. Now, also, the Canadian Trucking Alliance is against this convoy. This is the organization that stands up, is the voice of truckers in Canada. They're against this. So they say here the vast majority of the Canadian trucking industry is vaccinated, with the overall industry vaccination rate among truck drivers closely mirroring that of general public, which is around 90%. Accordingly, most of our nation's hard-working truck drivers are continuing to move cross-border and domestic freight to ensure our economy continues to function. The Canadian Trucking Alliance does not support and strongly disapproves of any protests on public roadways, highways, and bridges. They are against this because, you know why? The vast majority of their members are against it. If that wasn't the case, I imagine this would be a very different statement. But the vast majority of their members are against it. This group, is against it. Now, let me get to a couple of clips here. This is just going on a continuation of what I've been discussing.
This is really hard to put a number on, but I will say this. There have been claims that there will be 50,000 big rigs, and that's just not viable.
And there's frustration from truckers not in the protest.
I have had drivers call me repeatedly today saying that they're frustrated that they can't go about doing their job because the minority's ruling the day on the road.
He says roughly 90% of the trucking industry is fully vaccinated.
This has been hijacked by some people that are not directly related to the trucking industry. And I'd rather say to them, go have your own party and your own protest and let us go about doing our jobs.
The Canadian Trucking Alliance says the vast majority of its members are vaccinated.
Well, we need to be vaccinated. You want to bring it back and forth over the borders? You want a job? Get vaccinated.
DeAndre is not and has joined the protest.
All right, so before I go on and discuss how this movement has been hijacked, I have to mention there that one clip with the trucker that is saying, get vaccinated, nothing's wrong with these mandates. That clip has now gone viral. And it's gone viral because it's incredibly rare. It has been incredibly rare for the media to actually talk with any trucker outside of this movement. So the way it has appeared to a lot of Canadians that have been taking this in is, oh, truckers, I'm on the side of truckers. I'm fighting for the truckers because the truckers are against this. But they're not. They're perfectly fine with the mandates. If the media did their job properly, just talk to more of those sorts of truckers who represent 90% of truckers, then you would have a better idea of what this debate is about and who's on what side, which also goes to showing you the big issue there with that media piece, that last clip from CTV News, because they treat this as an equal debate. They have one trucker who is perfectly fine with the vaccine mandate and one who is in the convoy. But if 90% are vaccinated, are fine with the mandates, then why are you doing just one person for each side? You are misrepresenting what this fight is actually about. You should be talking to 9 truckers who are representing the vast majority of truckers that are fine with these vaccine mandates, and talk to that one who's in the convoy. That would actually give you an idea of what of who's on what side here, and if you're actually fighting for truckers or not. Because if you're on the side of the one guy against 9, I got some news for you. You're not fighting for truckers. You're actually against truckers, which gets to what this whole thing is about. So this clip here, now to be clear, before I even get to the clip, there are people that have been taken in by this, that honestly think that they are standing up for freedom, standing up for these truckers, standing up for the rights of workers, and you've been fooled. It happens. You can blame the media, the way they've covered this, blame whoever you want, but you have been fooled. You are not on the side of truckers. You are on the side of a far right-wing extremist movement. And now if that's you, if that represents your views, well, then I guess you are on the right side for yourself. But that's the reality. Here is an example. Here is one of the guys, part of this convoy, and he is very clear about how he feels.
Feelings towards vaccine mandates have heightened.
And I advocate civil war. If people don't want to stand up, we've got guns, we'll stand up and we'll bring them out.
What can I say to that? He's calling for civil war. I mean, he's pretty clear about it. Now, I don't think most people would admit this on camera, but this guy did. And there's a reason why this movement is attracting people like this, because as the Anti-Hate Network discovered, The Freedom Convoy is nothing but a vehicle for the far right. They say it is about truckers and have raised over $6 million, now over $7 million on GoFundMe. But if you look at its organizers and promoters, you'll find Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, and incitements to violence, as we literally just saw there. So look, I link to all my sources below the video. Always, you can read through my sources, see where I get my information from. So you can read through this yourself. There's a lot more information in here, obviously. But this is what this movement has become. If this wasn't initially the plan, well, that's what it is now. That's what this has now attracted. And you see this when it comes to how the media is trying to interact with them. So here you have a reporter for CBC Toronto with a screenshot here of his text messages. These are texts the Toronto contact for the Truckers Convoy calling itself a freedom rally sent me. After calling CBC a virus, he goes on to call me a, quote, slave-blooded traitor that will swing in time. All I asked for was an interview. So we're talking about organizers of this movement, this Freedom Convoy. This is how they speak. This is how they treat people. Another example, you have the Confederate flag here on one of the trucks in this convoy. Again, a pickup truck, not a tractor trailer. Again, not representing most truckers. But here you have what the convoy represents. My friend who works on Elgin just sent me this photo. Yes, that is a Confederate flag. In case you had any doubts about the intentions of this racist convoy, stay safe, friends. Now you may say, oh, but that's just one truck. One truck. If I was part of this convoy and I was driving behind this truck that's in this convoy, I would think to myself, am I in the right place? Should I really be a part of this if this is what the movement is attracting? These sorts of racist individuals, openly racist people? The Confederacy fought to keep slavery. So, like, why does this even have to, like, for Canada has, we don't have anything to do with this particular, movement. But here you have very clear, he is showing you what he is about. Anybody else in that movement, if this was actually a movement about the working class, about truckers, then they would all rally around and say, hey, take that flag down. That's disgusting. I don't support that. You're out of this convoy. But he's part of it. They're perfectly fine. They are embracing this. Now, some data here. Strong majority of Canadians support vaccination mandates open to measures, including vaccine passports. This one is from August 2021. So again, I'll link to all this below the video. You can read this data yourself. A lot of polling showing similar results here. From Angus Reid, vaccine passport or pink slip, 70% say healthcare workers, teachers, and others should be fired for refusing inoculation. So to be clear here, it changes depending on the job. So some people say, yeah, onboard airline employees should definitely be fired at 71% if they're not vaccinated. Whereas people who work for small private businesses, it's a little more divided there. But it gives you an idea that Canadians generally are in support of vaccines and vaccine mandates, depending on what your interaction level is with the public. Now, to get even more specific, 28% of Canadians support unvaccinated truckers crossing the border. So a small fraction of Canadians support unvaccinated truckers crossing the border. Now, this is look, if this rally, this convoy was really just about truckers and whether or not they should have a vaccine mandate, then that honestly, I think, is more of a debate. They don't really interact with too many people. They're on the road alone often on these drives. So, they aren't all that public facing compared to, say, like a doctor or, a police officer. So that's, I think, a little more of a debate. Now, I still support vaccine mandates. I still support vaccines, but I think that's fine. Have that conversation, have that protest, whatever. But when you are pretending to be for the vast majority of truckers, when you are pretending that this movement is simply about the vaccine mandate for truckers, when in reality, it's not, at least when it comes to the organizers, they know it's not, then you're just being dishonest. So you want to have the debate about the vaccine mandate with truckers specifically? Fine, have that debate. But that's not what this movement is actually about. And again, Canadians are on the side of vaccine mandates. Couple things here. Couple last things. So Olivia Rania Bowden here tweeting out, truckers and advocates say the convoy is distracting from important issues truck drivers are facing, specifically wage theft. South Asian truckers in Brampton have been organizing to combat these issues. So I will link to this piece below the video as well. But this is the other issue you have when you have a movement or a convoy like this, is it distracts from the actual issues that people in this profession are facing. Last thing here, there's a good tweet thread here from Billy Arma, and so I will link to it all, but he ends on here just saying, think folks, every other challenge to the economy or to the economic and political status quo in Canada, from Indigenous-led uprisings to anti-G20 protests to clear-cut logging actions to BLM and beyond, have been violently and mercilessly crushed by the elite. Why did they allow and support this one? So basically, he's discussing here how there is a real frustration and real anger at media generally, at the government, and there are actual things you can point to that are objectively terrible. But this convoy, this movement is not doing that. And people are being fooled into thinking that their frustrations are being taken out in a productive way, when in reality, all you are doing is supporting this garbage.